They encouraged us that they were going to have a quick turnaround and making their study, and then after they looked at the garage and decided to employ their own engineer. That time has dragged out, but I have not heard anything in the last 2 weeks.
Last time I spoke with the individual indicated he'd get back within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And since that time, there's been no contact. To the best of my knowledge, no one has come and looked through the files concerning the St. Clair parking garage within the last couple of weeks. And I would think that anyone that was, any engineer that was looking at the garage would want to come through and look at the files to make sure they're fully familiar with the structure before they take any action. So it's difficult to really gauge the level of interest.
Well, for what it's worth, I know I'm revealing the contents of the closed session. At the time frame, the commission agreed to, to get an offer in passed a couple of weeks ago. And we did, we said that, if I recall correctly, we said that there is another public entity that wants to enter into a partnership on this. And so we gave, I think some folks requested that we take some more time, to try and secure an offer before moving on with that public partnership. That deadline passed a couple of weeks ago. We don't have an offer in. But it sounds like that deadline that's been set by the commission has been extended without our, until now, without our knowledge.
Well, staff would be glad to move forward with whatever the commission would like us to do. We've been quite frustrated in that we've had several people, private individuals, and which
We've been left at the altar a number of times.
several times. So we'd be glad to take whatever course the commission directs.
Well, ultimately, we know that 2 years from now, the public safety building is supposed to be open. Is that not right? I think it's it.
Judicial center.
Pardon me?
Judicial center, not public safety.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks, baby. And that's been pushed back to about 2 years from now, correct?
According to state journal.
Yeah, okay. Well, we know that there has to be a decision made.
We would very much, our goal, regardless of who ends up with the garage, our goal is to have that operable by the time the judicial center is operable.
And then if there is no buyer, then we either have to upgrade it ourselves or make a decision to take it down. Yes, that's the status. And so in terms of our commitment to fiscal court, I would think within coming months, this has to be a decision would be made in order to have time to do either thing. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. The parking situation, of course, we all interested in the parking situation. You hear the continuing comments. Downtown Frankfort is going to have a meeting Wednesday. Mr. Carl and Mr. Gray, Mr. Gray, when you went before downtown Frankfort, you just made your presentation that you basically made to us. Was there a good exchange, or you?
Well, what we did was I attended the who knows what the merchants committee is, but there's a merchants group and they meet, whether they're part of downtown Frankfurt or whether they have their own business interest, first and foremost, I don't know. But you asked me to attend the merchants meeting and present them with this proposal. I did that, and I passed out comment sheets asking them 3 simple questions. Do you support, do you oppose, or do you have no opinion? And then there was a section for them to write comments. And that's what I did, and that's what we did with the property and business owners on St. Clair. And I guess I have to say that I've got a problem with this procedure because it's almost like Animal House where all stakeholders are equal, and some stakeholders are more equal than others. The vast majority of people that responded said that they support this, and some people said that this was just a Band-Aid, but as I pointed out to you all, everybody uses Band-Aids, and it's a temporary fix awaiting a decision on the completion of the reopening of the parking garage. And I guess it doesn't seem fair for, now downtown Frankfort's going to weigh in on this, and as Bill said, when he first heard about this, he thought it was a downtown Frankfort initiative. But it wasn't a downtown Frankfort initiative because downtown Frankfort doesn't interest itself in these kinds of things. What they interest themselves in are inaugurals and festivals and things like that. The reason that our group was formed is so that we could bring these issues to you all. And now this issue has to go before Downtown Frankfort Inc.'s board after having already gone before their, I guess it's their merchants committee. And I don't think that any of the board members of Downtown Frankfort own property or have businesses on St. Clair. So again, it doesn't seem fair to me, and it does seem like all stakeholders are equal, but some stakeholders are more equal than others.
Speaking of relation,
Grand Theater being more equal or something?
More equal?
Was that what you're suggesting, that we're trying to be more equal? I'm just trying to comment on it. I certainly will be contacted about it.
Can I make 2 more comments?
we'll come forward.
I would like to set something straight. The merchants meeting that John attended is a subcommittee of Downtown Frankfort Inc. And their recommendation to our board was only supposed to give our board an opportunity to voice our opinion of his proposal. John, I think, has misunderstood that we are actually making a decision for the city. We are not. We understood that the city had asked us what our take and what our position was on it, and that's what we are trying to come up with a collective, appropriate decision for it. We're not making the decision for the city. We do, in fact, also have board members who own property and run businesses on our board, more than a handful. So please don't say that anymore. That's just not true. On the second note, the Downtown Frankfort people do more things than planning parties. We've actually been looking at the parking issue, and one of the things that has come out is that in any urban area that you go to, there's always a parking issue on the street. Doesn't matter whether you're in New York City, doesn't matter whether you're in Owensboro, doesn't matter whether you're in Frankfort. It's an issue of, in some of our opinions, of educating the public on where the parking is. I would almost rather suggest that rather than the city buy 2-hour parking signs that will dot the St. Clair Mall with all this new striping, that the city think about maybe doing some directional public education signs that point the directions to hopefully the new garage that will open up on St. Clair, the garage that sits over off Main next to Farmers Bank, and the garage that sits across over on Miro underneath the Y. I mean, there's plenty of parking all the way around. It's just the public's perception that the parking is not there. So one of the things that DFI has been thinking about is how can we better inform the public on where that parking is. This city is not unlike any other urban area with its parking on the street. So that's something that one of our committees has been working on, our design committee's been working on. So I just wanted to throw that out, that maybe more than just putting 8 spaces or 11 spaces on a street, it's more educating the public as to where that parking is, and that's one thing that we're going to pursue. So that's just food for thought.
Thank you. Commissioner May?
Yeah, thank you. Having gone through this for a while, back and forth, and trying to figure out like signage issues, it's always important to make sure that there's a lot of things. We start getting the signage issues, that tourism wants to get involved in that. Then we have other historic preservation groups that want to get involved in not having too many signs or the wrong color or the size of the sign. Then we have to think too also of the general public and how they feel about it, because it's their downtown too, and also trying to weigh the folks who make investments in downtown, either if you own property in downtown, whether it be commercial or their apartments, in places like the tourist destinations, and the Grand, of course, being a destination that gets used from time to time at night and day. There's just a lot of factors in it. It's not easy sometimes when we try to weigh all of those. And every decision that we make impacts somebody in a way that maybe that group or individuals don't like. So signage is a good option to talk about, but again, when we start talking about signage, I know the tourism folks are going to want to be involved in that, and then we get into enforcement issues, so we get police involved, then we get public works involved. Several years ago, the city removed a number of signs in the downtown area because there were so many signs in historic groups and tourism groups and other folks. I know DFI was involved. Everybody should have had a chance to be involved, and the general public was involved. And so some of those signs were removed just for aesthetic reasons. And directional signs, of course, the parking garage is always important. We've just had a history of having difficulty getting people convinced to parking garages sometimes. One of the things that we found out when there was a large agency that was going to locate into a building on Main Street, the old Fitzgerald Drug Building, and the government agency that was going to go there pulled its members, and all the female members of that agency said they didn't want to go there because they had to park in a parking garage and they were afraid to park in a parking garage. So there is some barriers that some people have towards parking garages versus on-street parking. These things to consider. I'm not trying to advocate one way or the other, saying that there's a lot of consideration that goes into this decision, and once the general public hears about it, they may favor, putting parking on St. Clair. They may be opposed to it, maybe a mix. Some people may want to go back and say, let's take the areas that have landscaping in it, the bump outs or whatever that Ms. Gray said that are there. The street was constructed to where if it ever needed to be done, and I was opposed to it at the time, but the way we did, we made sure that we constructed it in such a way that if there's ever time when the majority of the commission felt like the street should be two-way or two lanes, that those bump outs could be removed, and the foundation of that area is strong enough to support 2 lanes of traffic. If that's what the commission, I'm not saying that's what I want to do, but I'm saying that was one of the things that everyone realized, that it needed to be put back in a way that if someone came back in the future and wanted to have 2 lanes of traffic, that would be 2 lanes of traffic with parking, but all the landscaping would have to come out in order to do it. So there's a way to do it, if the commission's inclined to do it. I'm not sure that that's what I think is best, but there is a way, just so I need to tell everyone that it's designed. So there would be no structural damage from my understanding to the street. If there's a temporary fix put in, they would just be striping it off, and I'm sure like whatever the cost would be to stripe and then to remove that striping once the parking garage hopefully is reopened or a surface lot is put in there, if that's what people want to do.
Okay, Commissioner Hill.
One last thought from me with this is, I did used to live in one of the apartments on St. Clair Street. I was fortunate enough to have one of the apartments that had a parking spot that came with it. would signage be something you'd want to put up? Would you want these spots per your property owners to be for businesses? Or do you want it for tenants? Do you want signage for that that says that these spots are for people who are patronages of these businesses, the Lori, the Grand Theater, the Downtown Bar, Celebrants, Serafini's, the ballet school? Or do you want these for the people who are moving into the apartments above the Lori? Or what did the property owners want on that?
Well,
Is that
would
what
be,
we discussed as well?
I think that would be unenforceable. They would just be added to the general mix of parking in the downtown. During the day, you would think the people that are shopping downtown would park there, because hopefully the people that are in the apartments or at work in the evening, anyone could park there, like anyone could park on Main Street now or Broadway now. But to have specific spots on the street designated for specific businesses or specific apartments would be completely unenforceable. I think,
Well,
Probably
sometimes
illegal, illegal as well.
So only in private?
It's public property, it's not our property
Mhm.
there.
So yeah, I think it would just be added to the general inventory of parallel parking of the downtown.
Let me finish, Commissioner. Commissioner Wilder.
Just to get a couple of things on the record in the interest of moving this along, I'll just sit through this. I've been on the record for months as supporting signage pointing people towards existing parking downtown, particularly the Sullivan Garage. I think just one sign with a P in a circle, letting folks know that there is a parking garage there, I think would go a long way. Separate from that, when it comes to this discussion on St. Clair, I would not be in favor right now of anything involving the construction or deconstruction of brick and mortar on St. Clair. That's something that would inevitably consume a lot of our time and energy. People reference the mall wars. I think that would be a return to them. And I think that there are other issues within the city that we'd be better served putting our focus on. And in terms of this proposal, I personally would feel prepared to make a decision one way or the other at our next meeting, especially considering the fact that DFI would have an opportunity, say this coming Wednesday. I mean, by that point, I think we will have heard from all the immediate relevant stakeholders. So I'd be prepared, to make a decision on this one way or the other next Monday. And then I'll also, just tell you for the record that, as of right now, I could support this proposal as stands, particularly if the parking spots labeled 1 and 2 were removed. I think that would alleviate some of the grants concerns about the space in front of the theater. And I think that would also alleviate our public works director's concerns about vehicles turning onto the street and needing a wide berth. As an alternative to this proposal, if this doesn't go through, then I would at the very least be definitely very supportive of establishing 6 2-hour parking spaces in the cutouts and leaving the rest of the street clear. And there's loading and fire truck access wherever people need it. At least you can get 6 2-hour spaces out of that if none of the rest of this goes through.
Mr. Turner.
I just want to, again, thank Mr. Gray and Downtown Frankfort and Mr. Cole and everyone for coming and voicing their opinions. As I said in the last meeting, when we discussed this, I think that it is a logical plan. I certainly would like to hear what the entire board says at Downtown Frankfort and their thoughts and comments on it. But I do think it is a logical plan. I think it is a need for Downtown Frankfort. I think that parking is always a good thing when you can provide it. I am certainly more inclined to support it if we do remove, as Commissioner Wilder said, the 1 and 2 slot there, parking spot. We could cut it down to a total of 9. But certainly support put it on the agenda for consideration.
Well, you support it, but put it on the agenda for the 19th to make a decision?
Sure, I think that gives downtown Frankfort the meeting on Wednesday. Give them time to discuss it and let us know their overall board's comments. And I think it would be something that we should consider.
Mr. May?
Mayor, again, just want to say just be cautious because I don't know that the general public has really had a chance to weigh in on it yet. There may be no interest, but there may be a lot. And I don't know that it's wise for us to move that. I don't want to delay. I don't want to slow somebody down. If there's support to do it, then that's fine.
Commissioner Head, how about you? You want to move it ahead the 19th?
It does give us time to hear feedback. I do think January's a better time. I told Mr. Gray that as well before.
Yes, I would be inclined to, I think the 19th is a little quick, personally. The thing we've been talking about for a number of times, traffic flow, the parking garage, parking places, signage, and then the timeline. That's how the urgency to get this resolved. That's an issue that I'm dealing with. And I hate to make a decision before we really had a little bit more discussion. I know, Mr. Gray, we said we've been talking this a long time. But there's some strong feelings here on this issue. I would prefer to not have it on the agenda for the next meeting, and would certainly push it back to at least January. And Commissioner Wilder.
So I guess only one more comment, which is that I would be much less inclined to support this if I were confident that we were on the verge of addressing the parking garage. And so it's the will of the commission to pick this up again in January. That would give us a little more time to know where we stand on the parking garage. But I think potentially we are on the verge of making a decision one way or the other. So I'm happy to follow the will of the commission in that regard.
Okay, then, Mr. Gold, do you have any comment to make?
Well, a couple of comments. The Streetscape Committee report, which I'm unfamiliar with, was, I think, presented in 1999. And I would like to review that with staff. Well, that's a staff issue, I think. But I also think that from my memory, when I was not working for the city, I remember this was a very, very contentious discussion, and I perceive that it will be. So I think that the more input and the more thought that we can put into it to make the right decision, I think we should consider that. And we'll do some research on the Streetscape report, try to have that for you. And, Mayor May might remember when he was mayor, it was very, very, everybody's got an opinion, and it's difficult to know precisely what's right and wrong. So we'll try to get all the information we can for the commissioners to look at.
Mr. Cole, can you make sure that you would send us an email on Wednesday, after Wednesday's meeting, maybe on Thursday, after you talk to DFI, in regard to what emergency, is that the thing that you're going to speak with?
Would you please report after your meeting, and then we can make sure that we disseminate that to all the commission?
Certainly.
Thank you.
We recognize Finance Director Steve Dawson, and
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
I'm sorry.
I have one more thing of old business.
Oh,
And I don't know if you stakeholders are interested, but I don't know, here we are, Mr. Frankfort with, have we got any information back in regard to doing the, get in touch with the Transportation Department and street study for 2A traffic?
I've talked to QK4. QK4 is under contract as our city traffic engineer. They do our traffic engineering reviews for planning and zoning. And about 2 months ago, asked what the process would be. And we would have to apply for a permit through the transportation cabinet because the two-way street would impact Ann Street lot, the traffic light. And so, Transportation Cabinet was contacted and asked what a traffic study might look like in terms of how big a scope of work. And I've got the dollar figure, about $20,000 to $25,000, maybe $30,000 to do a traffic study. And that's just to get the permit for Main Street two-way. And they said if we added Ann, High Street, or any other streets, they would require a full-blown traffic study of the whole downtown, and that traffic study might be a $50,000 to $70,000 cost just for the study itself. And that does not include the cost of restriping the streets, changing out the traffic signals, and those items. So, as of today, that's kind of some ballpark figures to share.
All the questions I found that. But a comment first, and I can't speak to this with any real knowledge, but my understanding is that some of the folks downtown have been logging this for a while, have identified a potential source of funding, perhaps even grant funding, to help with this, and I think they are interested in sharing that information with us. I don't even know what it is, but
I've heard that too.
I think it's something that maybe we could get somebody on the agenda to share some of that information with us next month. And a question, in terms of the cost of restriping and swapping out lights, just so I'm clear on who's responsible for what. If the city were to choose to turn our own street into a two-way street, would we be responsible for the subsequent traffic improvements to the state street? So as in the traffic light in front of Farmers Bank down there is a state traffic light. We keep joking, and it's not a joke, the Frankfurt's have one stoplight now, so we only want to maintain one stoplight. If we were to revert Main Street back to two-way traffic, which it originally was designed for, would we have to pay to swap out their street light, or they be responsible for swapping out their street light?
In the discussion I've had with the transportation cabinet and with the traffic engineer, I guess the thought process was to look at it in a phased process, meaning the first phase, is it doable? And what the impacts would be to the traffic flow. Then the second phase of the study would entail more of a cost estimate for the changes, like to the traffic lights. And at that point, there would be a discussion with the cabinet. But right now, The traffic lights in Frankfort are the responsibility, we have to pay the electric bill and the maintenance for the traffic lights in the city. Even though they're state maintained essentially, but under a traffic agreement, they're kind of ours to maintain. So if we decide to change out the traffic patterns,
That's why that turnaround would be on us.
it would most likely be on us, but, you know, there could be some partnership there. That would probably be addressed in the second phase of the study. Once that first question is answered, yes, this would work, and this is how it would impact traffic, then I think that in that second phase of the study, those type of questions could be asked.
This is a final comment. I mean, bureaucracy just blows me away sometimes. But the idea that I'm a little bit at a loss as to why we would be required